They told me interns should never step out of line. Keep your head down, stay invisible, don't get noticed. But that Tuesday morning in the middle of our crowded corporate lobby, I saw him, an elderly man alone, ignored desperation on his face as everyone rushed past like he didn't exist. Then his hands moved. Sign language. No one else understood. My heart pounded as I signed. "Hello, can I help you?" His entire expression changed. Relief. Hope. What I didn't know was that the CEO, his son, was watching from above. And that moment was about to change everything. 6 months ago, I was the kind of person you could walk past without ever remembering my face. I was 22, a marketing intern at Meridian Communications, one of Chicago's most powerful advertising firms. On paper, it sounded glamorous. In reality, it meant standing by the copier until the machine overheated, fetching lattes that weren't even mine and smiling politely when senior associates treated me like part of the furniture. I told myself that blending in was safer. If you don't make waves, you can't drown. But the truth was, I hadn't always been invisible. In high school, I had been the girl who raised her hand first, who cracked jokes in the hallway, who believed she was destined for something bigger. Then came college. One rejection after another. Clubs, I didn't get into jobs, I didn't land relationships that fizzled before they began. Each small failure chipped away at my confidence until all that was left was someone who walked with her shoulders slightly hunched, someone who chose the stairs to avoid awkward elevator conversations, someone who ate her sandwich at her desk rather than risk the cafeteria. By the time I graduated, the bright version of me felt like a ghost I'd once known. The only person who made me feel like I still mattered was my little brother, Danny. He was 8 years old, born deaf, and the fiercest, funniest kid I'd ever met. Our parents loved him, but they struggled with his silence, with the effort of learning a new language that felt foreign to them. I didn't. I threw myself into it. Late nights practicing fingerspelling in front of my laptop, afternoons spent at the community center signing with volunteers, hours rewinding ASL tutorial videos until my eyes ached. By the time I walked into Meridian for my first day, I was fluent. It was the one skill that gave me pride, even though it felt useless in a place that measured success in clients won and campaigns sold. Meridian's office looked like something out of a movie, glass walls, polished floors, employees buzzing around like they were wired to an invisible clock. The lobby was a constant swirl of strangers in tailored suits, flashing ID cards, rushing to meetings. Everything about the place whispered efficiency, importance, speed. And me, I was just Maya Carter, the intern assigned to support a supervisor who rarely looked up from her phone long enough to remember my name. That morning in October started like every other, deadlines pressing, people sprinting across the lobby, my phone buzzing with reminders from Margaret, my supervisor. I was stationed near reception, stacking glossy presentation folders, trying not to drop them. And then I noticed him, an older man, silver hair, navy suit, standing a little apart from the crowd. His eyes scanned the desk. His hands moved nervously, his mouth forming words no one understood. The receptionist, Jessica, was already flustered, waving him off to deal with another visitor. I froze for a moment, folders balanced against my chest. My job wasn't to interfere. I was just supposed to stay out of the way. But when I saw the defeated slump of his shoulders, something inside me pushed forward, and that's when everything began. I kept telling myself not to get involved. Margaret's voice rang in my head. "Support the presentation prep, Maya. Don't wander off. Don't waste time." But my eyes wouldn't leave the man. He wasn't just lost. He was invisible to everyone except me. And I knew that look because I'd seen it on Danny's face too many times. Jessica sighed, clearly overwhelmed, and turned her back on him. The man stood there, clutching the strap of his leather briefcase, his mouth moving with words no one would hear. Then I saw it. His fingers, hesitant but deliberate, forming letters in the air. He was signing. My throat tightened. All around him, people streamed past in expensive shoes and tailored blazers, too busy to notice. I thought about how Danny hated crowded places because they made him feel small, ignored. My pulse quickened. I couldn't just stand there. I set the folders down and walked over. My palms were sweaty, my heart hammering so loud I could feel it in my throat. When his eyes met mine, they carried the same tired resignation I'd seen in my brother's. I lifted my hands and signed, "Hello. My name is Maya. Can I help you?" It was like watching someone take their first deep breath after being underwater too long. His entire face transformed, relief, gratitude. He signed back with practiced ease. "You sign." Thank goodness. I thought no one here would understand me. The words spilled between us in silence. "I'm here to see my son," he explained. "I don't have an appointment." I thought maybe his hesitation carried weight, as if the visit wasn't simply casual. "What's your son's name?" I asked. "Michael. Michael Hartwell." The name landed in my chest like a stone. Michael Hartwell wasn't just anyone. He was the CEO. His name was etched in glass on the lobby wall, his corner office perched at the very top floor. Around the office, his presence was legend rarely seen, but always felt. "You're Mr. Hartwell's father," I signed, keeping my face neutral. "Yes," he answered with a small nod. "I know he's busy, but I wanted to see him." His eyes flickered with pride, but also something else. Doubt, longing. I promised him I'd try. I guided him toward the seating area, told him to wait while I called upstairs. My fingers shook as I dialed Patricia, the CEO's executive assistant. Her clipped voice answered immediately. "This is Patricia, Mr. Hartwell's office." "Hi, Patricia. This is Maya Carter from the intern program. There's a gentleman here in the lobby. He says he's Mr. Hartwell's father." A pause. Then another longer. "His father, yes, ma'am. An elderly gentleman, very well dressed. He's been waiting." Silence on the line, then a brisk, "Have him wait. I'll check with Mr. Hartwell." I hung up, walked back, and forced a smile. "They're checking. Please make yourself comfortable." Minutes dragged. 10, 15. The man, Robert, he introduced himself, didn't complain. Instead, he told me about his life in sign language, how he'd been an architect, how his late wife taught at the Illinois School for the Deaf, how raising a hearing son had been both pride and heartache. I listened, translating when curious employees drifted close, my hands moving almost automatically. But every second, anxiety gnawed at me. Margaret's texts lit up my phone, demanding updates on the folders, the prep. I ignored them. What I didn't know was that someone else wasn't ignoring me. From the mezzanine above, hidden behind a column, Michael Hartwell himself was watching his father talk to me, watching me abandon my assigned duties, watching the one thing I never wanted attention settle directly on me. And in that moment, the careful invisibility I had built around myself began to crack. The longer I sat with Robert, the more I forgot about the chaos waiting for me. We drifted from one floor to another, my improvised tour filling the space of the hour Patricia had promised we'd have to wait. I showed him the design team's sketches, the framed campaigns lining the hallways, even the break room with its stale coffee smell and half-empty vending machine. He lit up at everything, eyes wide, nodding with interest. And though I knew I was breaking every rule in the intern handbook, I couldn't bring myself to stop. My phone buzzed non-stop in my pocket. Margaret again. "Maya, where are the updated folders? Maya, clients are arriving in 30 minutes. Maya, get back to the prep room now." Each notification twisted my stomach tighter, but I pushed it away. All I could see was Robert's face, the quiet joy he felt at walking the halls of his son's empire. But time ran out. When we finally returned to the lobby, Robert thanked me over and over, his hands moving with graceful sincerity. "You've made me feel seen today," he signed. "Like I belong here." That was the moment I saw Margaret striding toward me, her heels clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. Her expression was all sharp angles, fury barely contained. "Maya," she snapped, voice cutting through the air. "I need to speak with you. Now. You've been gone for hours. Do you even understand how much you've jeopardized this presentation?" My throat tightened. Robert looked between us, confused, his smile fading. I raised my hands, ready to sign something reassuring, but Margaret stepped closer, lowering her voice into something venomous. "You're an intern. You fetch copies, not guests. When this gets reported, don't expect me to protect you." The words burned. She wasn't wrong. I had abandoned my assigned tasks. But the shame didn't drown me this time, not like it usually did. Because when I looked at Robert's tired face, all I felt was a fierce certainty that what I'd done mattered more than any stack of folders. Still, the collapse felt inevitable. Margaret's hand closed around my arm as if she owned me. "Come with me," she ordered. And then a calm, male voice cut through the lobby. "Actually, Margaret, I need to speak with Miss Carter first." Everything froze. My head snapped toward the voice, and there he was, Michael Hartwell himself, the CEO. Standing less than 10 feet away, his eyes locked on me unreadable. Robert's hands trembled as he signed my name, his gaze shining with something I hadn't seen before, hope. And in that instant, the balance of power shifted. The entire lobby seemed to hold its breath. Employees paused mid-stride. Conversations stilled, even the constant hum of printers and elevator bells felt muted. Michael Hartwell wasn't supposed to appear down here. His world lived in corner offices and boardrooms, not the marble floors where interns got scolded. Yet there he stood, tall and composed, his gaze fixed not on Margaret, not on the scattered folders, but on me. Margaret froze her grip on my arm, loosening. "Mr. Hartwell," she stammered. She was helping my father." Michael said, his tone calm but edged with something final. From what I observed, she did it beautifully. Gasps rippled around the room. Heads turned toward Robert, who sat straighter in his chair, his silver hair gleaming under the lights. His eyes shimmered with tears he didn't bother to hide. Margaret opened and closed her mouth like she'd swallowed glass. I stood, frozen heat rising in my chest, unsure if this was a rescue or the beginning of my dismissal. Michael crossed the floor with slow, deliberate steps until he was in front of us. He crouched slightly so he was eye level with his father. Then, to my shock, he raised his hands, clumsy at first, hesitant, but unmistakable. He was signing. "Dad, I'm sorry I kept you waiting." Robert's lips parted, disbelief flickering across his face. His own hands lifted, trembling but swift. "You've been learning," Michael nodded. "Trying. I should have done it years ago. I didn't know you were here today, until I saw you with Maya." He glanced at me briefly, then back at his father. "I haven't seen you smile like that in a long time." The sight was almost too much. The CEO of Meridian Communications, the man employees whispered about in reverent tones, fumbling through sign language in the middle of a crowded lobby, his voice soft, his composure stripped bare. Robert's shoulders shook as he signed back. "I thought you'd forgotten how to see me." "I never forgot," Michael answered aloud, his throat thick, before signing again more carefully. "I've been wrong. I let distance grow between us. I thought being strong meant keeping you out." Tears blurred my vision. Around us, the employees stood silent, watching an empire's leader dissolve into a son seeking forgiveness. Robert reached forward, touching Michael's arm with a gentleness that silenced every whisper. Then, in front of everyone, father and son embraced. The hug was brief, but it cracked something open in the air. When they pulled apart, Michael turned his attention to me. "Miss Carter, would you join us upstairs?" His tone carried no room for refusal, yet his eyes softened like he was offering instead of commanding. Margaret tried to recover. "Sir, with all due respect," she abandoned. "That's enough, Margaret." Michael's voice sharpened, cutting her off clean. "We'll speak later." The elevator ride to the top floor felt surreal. I stood beside Robert, who squeezed my hand like a silent thank you, and Michael, whose silence pressed heavier than words. When the doors opened, his office stretched before me, floor-to-ceiling windows spilling Chicago's skyline polished wood, gleaming under recessed lights, every corner screaming success. Yet it felt cold, almost sterile, as if no one truly lived there. "Please sit," Michael said, gesturing toward the chairs. He didn't take his throne-like seat behind the desk. Instead, he sat beside his father, leveling the space. I perched on the edge of the chair, heart racing. My voice tumbled out before I could stop it. "Mr. Hartwell." "I'm sorry. I know I was supposed to." He lifted a hand. "You did exactly what I wish more of my employees would do. You made my father feel welcome." His eyes flicked to Robert, then back to me. "Something I failed to do." Robert signed something quickly, his hands a blur. Michael translated aloud, his voice catching. "He says you remind him of my mother, that you make people feel seen." I bit my lip, overwhelmed. I only did what I'd want someone to do for my little brother. He's deaf too. I know how much it hurts when people ignore him. Michael leaned forward, studying me like I'd just handed him the missing piece of a puzzle. That's why I asked you here. Because what you did today, it showed me what's missing in this company. I blinked. Missing. We talk about inclusion. He said, his tone almost bitter. It's in our brochures, our mission statement, our website. But we don't live it. Today, I watched a 22-year-old intern demonstrate more leadership, more humanity than I've seen from entire departments. I opened my mouth, then closed it. My mind screamed. He's exaggerating, he's being polite, but his eyes told me otherwise. I want to change that, Michael continued, and I want you to help me. The room tilted. Me, I'm creating a new role, he said. Director of Accessibility and Inclusion. You'll build programs, train staff, make sure Meridian doesn't just say the words, but lives them. You'd report directly to me. My pulse thundered. Mr. Hartwell, I'm just an intern. I don't have experience. I trailed off, ashamed of how small I sounded. You have empathy, he interrupted firmly. And courage. You saw someone everyone else ignored and chose to act. That's leadership. Robert squeezed my hand again, nodding vigorously. His eyes pleaded with me to see what they both saw. I sat back, dizzy. An hour ago, I was terrified of being fired. Now the CEO was offering me a seat at his table. My lips parted, but all I managed was I need to think. Michael smiled faintly. Take the weekend, but know this. This company needs someone like you. I need someone like you. The rest blurred into logistics. I barely heard salary benefits authority. When I finally left his office, Robert hugged me so tightly it knocked the air from my lungs. You gave me my son back, he signed, tears streaking down his cheeks. And you gave him something he didn't even know he was missing. The elevator doors closed on Michael, watching us, his expression unreadable but softer than I'd ever seen. That night, I called Danny over video chat. His face lit up when I signed the news. You're going to help other deaf people at work, he asked, bouncing in his chair. That's so cool, Maya. You're like a superhero for people like me. For the first time in years, I believed him. By Monday morning, my answer was clear. I walked into Michael's office with my hands shaking, but my voice steady. Yes, I said, I'll take the job. That was the day everything shifted. The title sounded grand, Director of Accessibility and Inclusion, but what it meant day to day was hard work. My first task was to run a full audit of the building, the policies, the culture. What I found was exactly what Michael suspected: good intentions buried under years of neglect. Fire alarms without visual signals, company meetings with no interpreters, marketing materials designed with no thought for accessibility. I tore it all down and rebuilt it. Slowly, stubbornly, piece by piece. We installed visual alert systems. We brought in ASL interpreters for every meeting and event. We rewrote client decks so they met accessibility standards. We launched lunch-hour sign language classes that filled up faster than I expected. The biggest surprise, Margaret. The same supervisor who once scolded me for wasting time became one of my most eager students. After one training, she pulled me aside and admitted I was so focused on deadlines I forgot about people. I don't want to make that mistake again. 6 months later, Meridian Communications won a national award for workplace inclusion. Michael handed me the plaque, but insisted I accept it on stage. My voice shook, but my words came out strong. Inclusion isn't policy. It's people. It's the choice to see someone others overlook. That's what changes everything. In the front row, Robert was signing Applause Pride written all over his face. Next to him, Michael smiled like a son who'd finally come home. And for the first time, I felt seen too. In the end, I realized something I'd missed all along. It's not about titles or corner offices or the endless rush to prove yourself. It's about people. My brother, my mentor, even a stranger in a lobby who just needed someone to see him. Family isn't always about blood. It's about loyalty, empathy, and the courage to act when others look away. If this story hit you the way it hit me, share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell, because the next story I tell might just be yours.